How are you feeling? How long have you been here?
3 months, May 17th.
And what brought you?
That's difficult to answer.
Eventually resulted in your being here in the hospital.
That's difficult to answer.
this the end? There's a noise inside my head of crying people facing death. Is this the end? Is this the end? I'm burning in the there's no place to hide. I'm burning in the this is the final time. What have we done to the world? What have we done to the world? I'm burning in the there's no place to hide. I'm burning in the this is the final
Well, we're back again. We are back again. I'm really loud for some reason. We are back again because there is a spy stream starting in about 10 minutes where we're going to go inside a live woke training. Let me show you what we're watching. We are continuing from yesterday because on yesterday's Workers Over Billionaires spy stream, we learned that they are doing additional trainings. And so if we're on their website and we got to sign up for these yesterday because we went to yesterday's stream, they're doing additional trainings in things like neighborhood defense, call team, comms team, data team, research team, and text team. And these are all volunteer teams that the Working Families Party, via the Workers Over Billionaires campaign, is organizing to try to reach out to 10 million people across the South and the Southwest to try to make them into, entry-level socialists, I guess. This is a rather socialist organization. They're not revolutionary socialists. They are reformers, so they're more like the DSA. They believe in working within the electoral process, and they are organizing lots and lots of people to do lots and lots of things. Tonight, we're going to be listening into a spy stream about their neighborhood defense team, and it says, we need to build a line of defense locally to protect our communities from the anti-constitutional attacks on working people and our immigrant neighbors. Engage in short, impactful door-to-door conversations that uncover shared values, identify key local issues affecting working people's lives, while also building a local defense network to protect our friends and family members. And they're going to be doing a training on how to be a part of that team in about 8 minutes, and we're going to watch it. As a reminder, Spy Stream is a completely live leftist training. I don't know what they're going to say. I don't know what they're going to do. Maybe they discover I'm streaming because I'm doing it publicly on the internet instead of as a supporter exclusive. Maybe they kick me out. Maybe they stop the training in the middle of it because they don't want it streamed on the internet because they don't want people knowing what they're doing. I can't imagine why they wouldn't want people knowing what they're doing. I mean, we're helping to get the word out, I feel like, about what's going on. I think we're doing them a favor, but oftentimes leftists are pretty pissed off when I stream their trainings, and oftentimes they don't want people knowing what they're doing. I can't imagine why. So we don't know what's going to happen. I make no guarantees. We're just going to show up and we're going to be behaving ourselves, and we're not going to be disruptive or anything, and we're just going to listen, and that's all we're going to do. As a reminder, guys, if you want to support the work I'm doing, the very best place to do so is over on the Substack. That is Karlyn, Karlyn, queermarxism.substack.com. You can sign up for $8 a month or $80 a year. And I'm 100% independently funded by people like you guys. So if you want this stuff to continue, where I take you inside live leftist trainings, I do breakdowns of leftist literature and brochures, like I did on today's episode of the Inner Circle podcast, where I read you this brochure called "You'd Be Better Off Without Police, Presidents, Money, and Capitalism." You can hear me read this brochure. It's actually a really good one, to be honest. On the latest episode of the Inner Circle podcast, which is my supporter exclusive podcast, over on the Substack, you can sign up for it by going to Inner Circle, and that's where you can find the secret download link for supporters. You can also find a live stream I did earlier today where I talked about how far ahead the left is than us regarding the schools. I walked you through some upcoming trainings for like social justice, teacher professional development, and stuff like that, and it's just not even close, guys. The left is not giving up any ground when it comes to the public schools. The left isn't even paying attention to Trump's executive order. The Trump administration isn't enforcing their executive orders because and I promise you they know about this, but they don't do anything about it because they're too busy fighting anti-Semitism and, bombing Iran and stuff like that. So too busy doing stuff for Israel to pay attention to what's going on in the United States. But I promise you they know about it because I've been sending them videos of school teachers and equity directors saying, we're not listening to the Trump administration. He can F off. We're going to keep doing exactly what we're doing. Trump administration does nothing about it, so the schools just do more and more of it. And they're doing all their teacher social justice trainings exactly like they were before. They have changed nothing. There is a metric ton of these things, and I walked through that today over in a live stream on the Substack that you can find over there. And there's lots of other stuff that you can find over there as well. And if you feel like supporting my work for $8 a month, $80 a year, I would really appreciate it. That would be awesome. Let's see. Let us see. Let me see if I can get the link up. Please make sure you mount the like button, guys. As a reminder, there is sometimes a glitch when I'm trying to watch a Zoom meeting, and sometimes I have to turn my browser off and turn it back on. If I disappear for a second, I'm going to be right back. Don't go anywhere. I'm literally just turning the browser off and turning it back on. Because sometimes it just requires that. I don't know why. I don't know why at all. It makes no sense. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Okay. And we're waiting. We're waiting. Hope you guys are having a good day. We're waiting. We're waiting. I've got all these union people pissed off at me because I made a video yesterday saying that there needs to be congressional hearings into the political organizing activities of the unions. And now I have all these union people in my reply, and they're like, you don't know the first thing about unions. I'm like, I know that unions are at the epicenter of all leftist organizing. This I know, and I know which unions are doing it, and I know how they're doing it, and I know what they're doing it for. So don't tell me the unions aren't fucking socialist. Just because you have feelings because you work in a trade job and have to be in a union. And listen, man, I don't want people to have to join unions. And I don't actually really care if you are in a union, if it provides you with value. But the fact of the matter is it's at the epicenter of leftist organizing. And everyone needs to like put their feelings aside and do what's better for everyone. Unions suck. All unions are socialist. I don't care what your feelings are about it. All unions are socialist. And there are many unions right now that are being used to recruit and radicalize and organize for explicitly socialist organizations. And it's bullshit. They're trying to overthrow the government. They shouldn't be allowing this. But people always got to get their feelings in the way. Can't put them aside. I know I'm right. is a perpetual state of being. I know I'm right. Should be getting started here pretty soon, guys. Welcome to Spy Stream if you're just tuning in. Please make sure you have mounted the like button for me. Please make sure you are subscribed to my channel, if you would be so kind. Yeah, oh my god, feelings, exactly. Feelings control the conservative right. The facts don't care about your feelings, people unironically have the most feelings of anyone. It's like how men actually make decisions more emotionally than women do. Men think they're making decisions without emotion. No. No, they're not. Men also make decisions with emotions and then they pretend that they don't, but they do, and then they repress them, and then all sorts of weird shit happens. Still waiting to let us in. I'm excited for this training tonight. I want to see what they're doing. Yeah, men and women are equally emotional. They're just emotional in different ways. Which is true of most things.
Getting started in about minutes. We're just gonna give some folks time to jump on, figure out the tech. So give us a few minutes and we'll get started. We definitely welcome folks to start introducing themselves in the chat. You can let us know your name, where you're joining us from, and yeah, what motivated you to join tonight's training. And yes, Lynn Wizard, if you could please put some music on, that would be awesome.
Got it. Maybe the Love Island soundtrack. Just kidding.
Very dramatic.
Let's do it. We'll say new bombshells, the more people join in the call.
All right, can everybody hear that? We got some hot new bombshells entering right now for Neighborhood Defense. Welcome, everybody. Keeping our spirits up in a time of disarray.
Thank you. Would you get down a little bit?
Okay, I gotta listen to this. I'm on the Zoom call.
Yeah, we'll be getting started in just a couple of minutes. I think allowing 2 more minutes for folks to join before we get started so no one misses the information. But in the meantime, if you just jumped on, if you can add your name, where you're joining us from, and then what motivated you to join us tonight, and also your pronouns. All right, y'all, we're going to go ahead and get started. Thank you all so much for spending your Thursday evening with us and really just investing your own time in building up the skill set and the know-how and building community, right, to make sure that we are protecting our neighbors, our family, and our friends, given all of what we're seeing happen, especially here in LA where I'm based. My name is Karlyn Borysenko, she, her pronouns. I'm the campaigns director at Organized Power in Numbers, but also what we're seeing really across the country. So again, if you just joined us, we're asking folks to enter into the chat your name, where you're joining us from, your preferred gender pronoun, and why you're joining us tonight. Before we go ahead and get started, I just want to give you all a little bit of background about who we are. So as I mentioned, my name is Claudia, and I'm with Organized Power in Numbers. And this is part of our overall Workers Over Billionaires campaign effort that we put together this year. We're an organization that does worker power, and we help build worker power across the South and Southwest. And what our Workers Over Billionaires campaign is really about is making sure that we're bringing communities together. We're channeling all of the energy that folks are feeling around what can they do to protect each other? What can they do to resist what we're seeing from this big billionaire agenda that is really just keeping our communities divided and suppressed? And right now, through literal military intervention, trying to create all this fear in our communities, what can we do to make sure folks know their rights, that folks are working together, and that we feel empowered? And so this training is going to be about an hour long. I ask that folks save their questions for the end, but you can definitely add them into the chat as we go. And if I catch it and I can answer it as we go, I will. If not, we'll definitely come back to them. We'll spend some time going over, how you can, in your own community and with your friends, make sure that you're protecting each other. So I'm going to pass it over to our co-host to introduce herself and then share what we're going to cover in the training a little bit more.
Recording in progress.
Hi, everyone. My name is Alejandra. I'll also go by Alex, she, her pronouns. I work in comms here in Organized Power Numbers, and super excited to be here with all of you. And, let's just get into just the agenda so we know what we're going to be going over today. So we're going to be reviewing the steps within our Worker Over Billionaires campaign. We have our neighborhood defense training, which is this is part of it. And we're going to be dropping in the chat the information. So we're going to be going over our constitutional rights. We'll go over a canvassing script and we'll do some practice as well. And then we'll also help you figure out where to start canvassing, whether it's in your own neighborhood or it's your local businesses. And we'll also go over some canvassing best practices, as well as materials that you may need for canvassing that you should be able to find on our website. We'll send all that information to you as well. And lastly, the different systems that we'll be using to track our conversations and our relationships. And just to let you all know, like the reason why this started, this grassroots like door knocking program started. I'm not sure where you guys first saw it. We have like a couple of videos that have gone viral. We're doing a role play on this, and it has really taken off. It's been incredible to see a lot of you and a lot of other folks that have already like been trained and are doing their own canvassing all over the country. We've got DMs of individuals doing it in Washington, people that are doing it in Florida, people that are starting in Illinois, in Chicago, wherever it is. And this is just so incredible. So what we can do is continue to educate ourselves, and empower our community, and let our community know that we're here to protect each other. And this is how we're gonna get through these like really tough times. So again, we didn't want to wait. This kind of started in Los Angeles because we didn't want to wait around for a situation to continue to escalate, which we see is happening, and we really had to like respond in the moment. And so this program, during this program, we also invite you to share feedback to us on all the training materials and the scripts when we start building power together on the ground across the Sun Belt and wherever it is that you are. We've got a lot of work to do, and we're really grateful, and we're willing that you're willing to take this first step with us, which is simply to start building community. This is what it is. You guys being on this call is taking that step to build community. There's a lot of folks in our DMs who are like, well, I'm not sure what to do. You being on this call is doing something. And I want you guys to give yourself rounds of applause for that. So who's excited to start this training? Woo, yay, all these new bombshells. Sorry, I'm obviously very into Love Island. If you haven't started it, do not start. You waste a lot of your hours. But we'll go ahead and get started on the training. Please put your emojis of how you're feeling, and I'll pass it over to Claudia.
Alrighty, thank you, Alex. And yes, there's a few of us who are having our ways of escaping this moment for at least an hour a day. Okay, next slide, please. So we're going to start, like, this is now the actual training, right? And hopefully folks are a little familiar with some of this content, but if you're not, excited to be reviewing this with you all because it applies to us as individuals, but also as business owners. So we're going to go into what are folks' rights. But before I get into the nitty gritty of that, I do want to do a legal disclaimer. While this presentation does contain legally accurate information, it's not legal advice. I am not an attorney, neither is Alex. You don't need to be an attorney to feel strongly grounded in this information, but just want to make sure folks understand. Oh, and we asked that folks go on mute, thank you. That this does not create kind of an attorney-client relationship. So in that case, definitely asking that folks do not ask questions that are personal to their own cases. One, because we're currently recording this training. We will probably stop recording at the question and answer phase, but that you all do not ask personal questions, both for your own privacy protection, but also because we probably are not the best people to answer questions about personal and specific cases. And that, nothing here is as perceived as advice. This is about how volunteers can go ahead and communicate, our constitutional rights, both to our communities, our friends, but also to businesses to make sure that they're protecting their workers. And then again, and I'll emphasize this more in a little bit, when you are feeling trained on this and you are doing this outreach in the field, that you are not perceived by business owners as giving them legal advice that they believe, is that type of relationship. This is just information that we are sharing. We're, as a community, saving each other and protecting each other and educating each other. So I'm going to go ahead and get into it. So there's a couple key constitutional amendments that are really critical to be enforcing and asserting our rights in this moment to make sure we're protecting ourselves, our families, friends, and that employers are protecting their business and their employees and their clients and the customers. So one thing I want to say about the Constitution is that there are constitutional amendments that apply to everybody in this country, regardless of your status in this country. It doesn't matter if you're undocumented, doesn't matter if you're a citizen, doesn't matter if you're currently in the process of getting status or have a temporary status. These amendments apply to all persons in the United States. As we know and are seeing all the time, these rights are being violated, and it's important that we document that when it's happening, because these are violations of our rights, and they're to the best of, I think the incredible civil rights attorneys and immigrant rights attorneys that are out there, they are building cases to fight this in the courts, and hopefully there's success there. So I'm naming that as we go into describing these rights, they are being violated, but they're also at moments and at times being respected when they are asserted. And so that's what we want to make sure folks are doing, is to the best of their ability, asserting their rights granted to them by the Constitution for just simply being in this country, not because they are citizens. When the Constitution does cover a citizen, it names citizens, right? So like you have to be a citizen to run for president. But the Fourth Amendment, Fifth Amendment that we're going to go into cover all persons in the United States. So just want you all to have that kind of understanding. So the Fourth Amendment. The Fourth Amendment is what gives us all protection from unlawful searches and seizures by the government. So this is critical for the approach that we're taking of making sure businesses are trained up. So we think about when we have the right to privacy, reasonable expectation of privacy. Often we're thinking about our homes, right? And I think that's where most folks have been trained in individual immigration rights, is that you have a right to privacy in your home, which means that law enforcement, the government, cannot enter without a warrant signed by a judge, I'll show an example of that in a moment, into our home, unless you give them permission, right? The only thing that would void that, aside from them having a warrant, is that you give them permission to enter. Think of it as like a vampire, right? You cannot let them in unless or they cannot come in unless they have your permission legally, unless they have a warrant. And so that is also true for business owners who own their businesses and have areas within their business that are considered private areas, or there's a reasonable expectation of privacy. So can folks put in the chat some examples of an area inside a business, whether it be a business that you're familiar with, where you work, a business that you own, that you would say you have a reasonable expectation of privacy? Yep, I'm seeing break rooms, storage rooms, what else? An office, yeah, if it's like limited to employees only. A warehouse, yeah. Electrical rooms, the kitchen, hospital, bathrooms, yeah. Those are all right. So we're thinking about places where the public cannot be. So anywhere the public cannot traditionally be are these private areas of a business, which means that if the back entry takes you into the kitchen, for example, or into like a private space, that is an area where there's a reasonable expectation of privacy. The norm is that only people are allowed to be there. A reception area is a little bit tricky because if the custom of that, the customary practice is that anybody from the public can just walk in and be in the waiting area or speak to the receptionist, that no longer necessarily is considered private, right? So maybe if the receptionist then takes somebody to the back private like offices, like a maybe like clinic, I know at the urgent care that I go to the receptionist and then they take us back once we're called, right? Then that is private space because I've not been allowed to be there until I'm escorted back there. But not necessarily waiting rooms. But in these areas, right? And this is why we're really thinking about primarily how employers can be protecting their workers, right, and their businesses by making sure that we're enforcing this in these areas. And then sometimes and I'll talk a little bit more about the context where it applies to clients and patients. But a dining room, for example, in a restaurant, it's not really, think about having to argue this out in court, right? Like, if it's not really the custom that they don't restrict entry to the public, then it's going to be, if ICE violates this, your rights there, and they say, well, anybody can walk in and go, like if I was eating there, I could go and walk in, then it's harder to make that case. So dining rooms are typically not considered that like private space, but the back of the kitchen or the back of the house is, right? So a lot of it also depends on like what policies, yeah. Oh, I can ask that folks go on mute, or I can also, thank you. A lot of it also depends, and we can discuss this a lot more in detail at the end of the training. A lot of it really depends on what the practices are, right? But the really obvious ones that you all listed in the beginning, like the break rooms, the back of the kitchen, right? Maybe if the offices or a warehouse is closed and you have to be an employee to enter the premises, those areas are typically what we're talking about when we're saying these are areas that are protected by the Fourth Amendment. And in order for us to be best at enforcing that right, we want to make sure that not only are we putting signs up, which is really important, but to go even further than that, having some type of like physical barrier to that space is even stronger protection, right? So if we have, a break room, but the door is fully open, then like we know that ICE, given the opportunity, will walk through that door. So where we can have areas that are more closed off, that's better. I understand that's not always the case, and so that's where it's really important to have people that are trained to like not allow them past you physically, right? But it also adds to have signs and then to be having like physical barriers to these areas. So what about
No,
our private?
they get wet.
Claudia, you're muted.
Oops. Okay. Thank you. What about areas that are private to clients and patients, for example? So a hospital, right? You have to be a patient at a hospital to go into the rooms, right? Or to go into certain areas. And so in that case, you've seen maybe some of the signs that we have that say patients and employees only. And we all know, if we've ever been to a hospital, that you can get to some areas publicly, you can just walk in, but then you need to check in and show your ID and get a visitor badge to go into another space, which then again is very clearly that private space. I would say, for example, a barber shop, you can argue that you need to have an appointment to be there, right? And so if you are restricting your business to employees only or clients only that have appointments, then one can say, yeah, that is clients and employees only, because you have to have an appointment to be here. And so it's very important that folks know that they need to then not only just say that, but practice that as well, right? Because if you just have a sign up, I've seen it, and we've been doing our best to make sure folks know, are putting, in clients and employees only signs up at a restaurant, for example, but on the front door. And the truth is, as we all know, is that if that door is open and anybody can walk in, ICE is going to walk in, right? And so it's both like a statement and a practice of making sure that these private areas are like actually exclusive to employees and or a client and or patient. So we'll come back to questions in a little bit, but I want to go into what would be the one thing that in essence would for the Fourth Amendment, they cannot go in without a warrant, right? And so what does that warrant look like? Because communities have become so well trained around requesting and demanding a warrant for law enforcement to enter, ICE has created, if we can go to the next slide, thank you, an administrative warrant. But I want to first show you all what a proper judicial warrant looks like. So this judicial warrant, as you can see here at the top, highlighted in yellow, it names that it's from a U.S. district court. So it's issued by a court. It's a search and seizure warrant. And if you go down, it's going to name specifically what it allows them to do. So what they've been given permission by a judge to do, to seize, to search, to arrest. It has a date, which in order for this warrant to be valid, has to be within the 14 days of when it was executed. And it's going to have the signature of the judge who issued it. So I don't know what folks' experiences with any type of warrants in the past, or maybe if you've ever had to get a restraining order or something like that. But even though we're seeing our rights getting pretty highly violated right now, the courts take pretty seriously when they take away an individual's rights. And so in order to get a judicial warrant, there has to be some proof that is shown or presented to a judge that tells them that this person, for X, Y, and Z reason, warrants us violating or basically denying their Fourth Amendment right and allowing these officers to go into their space, right, without their permission. 14 days, I see that in the chat. It has to be within 14 days of when it was issued. And so it is not necessarily an easy thing that judges are issuing out, because it requires evidence. It requires some cause. And so let me tell you that ICE is not going around to the random person that they just found on the street, or that they're going to their business that they decided to pick that day with these judicial warrants. It doesn't mean that they're not sometimes present, but it's much more rare because it takes some, again, reasonable suspicion or proof that they can present to a judge that then leads this judge to say, okay, I'm going to now allow you to, we're going to put this person's Fourth Amendment rights aside. So because it's not very easy to get this, and people understand that law enforcement needs a warrant to enter their space, ICE has created, DHS, Department of Homeland Security, has created what's called an administrative warrant. We can show that one on the screen, please. Thank you. So this is an administrative warrant. This is what you're going to see, and you probably have seen it in videos online of what immigration officers are holding out and saying that counts as a warrant. The only reason this is a warrant is because they typed the word on it, right? It's literally a warrant by name, but it is not truly a warrant that meets the criteria of the Fourth Amendment to allow them to come in, right? So I don't want to spend too much time on here only because it's so unlikely that they have these. It's just important that people understand that without the warrant on the left, they do not need to allow any law enforcement officer in, and in particular, in this case, ICE in, to these private areas, and has to say their name, has to be the right place, has to have all the details correct, has to be within the right window of time. But what ICE is doing is walking around with the paper on the right, acting like they have a warrant. But only the one that's issued by a court, signed by a judge, is what counts to essentially like undermine your Fourth Amendment right. So just again, want to make sure we're good on these warrants. Next slide. Another really important right. Again, this is because let's pretend they've come to our business and they have the right warrant, or they came to our business and they didn't have the right warrant, but they still forced their way in to our private space, because we're seeing that happen all the time too. In that case, it's critical that we then apply our Fifth Amendment right, which is our right to not incriminate ourselves, aka our right to remain silent, our right to not sign documents without an attorney present, and our right to due process. And so this is especially important because the burden of proof is on the state for why they are then detaining you, right? And in order to fight for folks to be released once they've already been detained or snatched up, as we're seeing happen, we need to make sure that folks have not mistakenly incriminated themselves by admitting anything in this process. And what we know that ICE will do is that they're trained to lie, they're trained to intimidate, or trained to falsely be, we're not seeing these videos, I'll tell you that, but we're not seeing them act this way, but to falsely be maybe comforting or charming, right? To like comfort folks and be like, hey, no worries, like we're just trying to find out like if we're looking for somebody else, but you sound like you have an accent. Are you from Mexico? My mom's from Mexico, whatever, right? They might do small chat, and what they're really looking for you to do is to admit something that then will give them a reason to justify their unjustified detention of you, right? And so it's really important that folks understand that there is no reason, once you're already interfacing with an immigration enforcement officer, especially if you're at risk or you have, at this point, anybody with any status, even citizens, right, are at risk. But really, there's no reason to be speaking with any of these officers without an attorney present. And it's important that folks in any encounter with law enforcement ever, like this is true. If y'all think about, I don't know if it was Cops or Law and Order, whichever one of those shows, that be like, whatever you say will and can be used against you in the court of law. That is true. And so even when, I know some folks like, yes, even if you were innocent, don't answer questions. And I know people who, when they're innocent, want to over-explain their innocence. And in doing so, like, you may say something that is still not going to help you or might not help somebody that's with you, right? So the best thing is for folks to be remaining silent. And what we're seeing ICE do at businesses, so kind of coming back to the business context, because if they're already in there, we do not want folks then saying anything. We want them to assert their Fifth Amendment right and to not say anything. But ICE is coming to businesses with the I-9 inspection or audits as well. So for anybody that's has worked, been an employee or an employer, you're familiar with an I-9 form, which is what shows that you're authorized to work in the country. And what ICE will do for businesses, the DHS will do to businesses sometimes, is go through an administrative process of doing an I-9 audit, which is where they get to verify if folks' paperwork is correct, if maybe somebody's status is expired and it's not renewed. We'll see them, issue maybe penalties to companies that are hiring a lot of folks that don't have proper I-9s. This is very much an administrative process, but right now it's being used as a tactic to intimidate businesses in order to allow them in to then engage with, and their intention is detain workers. And so it's important that businesses understand that an I-9 audit is not a warrant. An I-9 audit on the spot does not authorize them to speak to workers, does not authorize them to enter private space. And if it is an I-9 audit that they're issuing on the spot, then employers still have 3 days to prepare their paperwork and get that back. That's a whole another longer training we can go into around I-9 audits and those technicalities. But I just want to name, so you all know in these conversations, that if ICE has to come to any of these businesses trying to do an I-9 inspection on the spot, that does not authorize them to violate the Fourth Amendment right. The only one thing besides an employer's permission or somebody permitting them is the judicial warrant, which we showed before. So next slide, please. Yes, I love it. And the shut the fuck up mantra is right. Shut the F up. So the goal of what we're doing when we're talking to businesses, it really is a very simple and straightforward conversation. I'm elaborating more here because we're doing a training and I want you all to feel very kind of like secure and grounded in this information. But our goal when we're going out is to make sure that employers understand that they have constitutional rights, and in particular, the Fourth and Fifth Amendment, the fourth being, somebody remind me, what is the Fourth Amendment? Put it in the chat or go off mute.
No unlawful searches or seizures.
Exactly. Which means they need a warrant, a right to privacy. And then what's the fifth one?
Your right to remain silent.
Exactly. So these are the two key things we want to make sure folks understand when we go to their businesses, and then to help them really enforce and secure their areas that are private. The best thing they can be doing right now, outside of training themselves and their staff, is to be putting up signs that designate what their private areas are and to be practicing that, those actual boundaries around those private areas. I want to name that, it was very tedious for us when it happened, and I know it was created a lot of challenges for many businesses. But during the pandemic, just 5 years ago, we really stopped kind of having these restrictions maybe like 3.5 years ago or 3 years ago. Businesses would make you show your vaccine card to enter their business. They actually closed off their dining areas, right, and served you food through a window. I'm not saying that we need to go back to that extreme, but I will name that, this is also a liability for businesses. This is a threat to their customers, a threat to their employees. And so we can be much more disciplined about how we're operating, especially if we know we're at areas where ICE is particularly targeting, which what we've seen here, and I can tell you from LA at least, have been areas that are, kind of immigrant communities with a lot of immigrant families that have a lot of immigrant businesses or businesses that service immigrants. So things to think about. Yeah. Okay, next slide. And then again, one thing, in addition to us, we're not providing legal advice or telling anybody, what to do. It's really important that we also are keeping ourselves safe to do this work. And what's happening right now is that ICE is being really adamant about trying to take on and challenge community members who are providing assistance and support to our neighbors that we're seeing be taken by ICE. And so when we're doing this, we just want to name and warn folks that there are legal consequences to obstructing and interfering with these enforcement operations. And so what we're doing here and what we're training y'all to do is to make sure we're prepping folks on what to do if this happens, that we're making sure folks are the most trained and equipped for what would happen if ICE comes to their business, but we are not interfering and we're not telling anybody to do anything that is illegal, because that is both a threat to to you for doing that, for saying that, and then also to them if they actually do that, or to anybody who then is perceived as being as interfering with these operations, obstructing, helping anybody evade or hide or concealing. So just want to name that it's really important because we are seeing there consequences of that in real time. And that is limiting, right, folks' ability to then continue that work if then they themselves get detained and charged with federal charges for obstruction. Alex, I will pass it over to you.
Awesome. Thank you. Okay, so let's get into it. To practice the script, the very first thing is you read the script. So why don't we take some time, like, to read it? We definitely want to read it, and also just practice it. I think one of the things that we've seen when we've been leading some canvassing here in Los Angeles is that people are like, "Well, I've never canvassed before," you know. But the thing is, like, think. It's actually one of the, like, if anyone has canvassed before, it's probably one of the easiest things to do because one, you know they're going to be there because the business is open. Two, you're talking to workers who like have to kind of respond to you. And then the lastly, and I think the most important one is that this information is very much needed, and businesses have been overwhelmingly positive about receiving this information. So one of the things to make yourself feel more comfortable, especially if you feel a little more shy or like a little have a little bit more anxiety in terms of like speaking to strangers, is just practice it. You know, practice it in front of the mirror, practice it with a friend, and also just like be patient with yourself. Because even if you like the first few times that you do it, you might be like, oh, dang it, I missed this part. That's okay, because what you can do is remember you're not going to forget it the second time you do it, right? So like just give yourself the grace to know that it's going to take a couple of tries for you to get it down. But the good thing is you're also already building community and relationship by having these conversations with the workers or the business owners. So definitely we recommend you practice it. You know, we don't want to sound like a robot or sound very stale. Just like you're coming from a place, like everybody who's on this call, you're doing this from like because you care about this, right? So like just remember, it's like be human, and it's okay to take your time and speak a little slower. You don't have to like read off the script. So yeah, once you practice the script and get comfortable and you're confident with it, you can adjust it slightly to make it more your own voice. And now we're going to show a 2.5-minute role play video that demonstrates like key points that we want to go over in these conversations with businesses.
To different restaurants and different. We are going to show you how we have been going around to different restaurants and bars and small businesses to prepare them and their staff in case of ICE raids. I'm going to be role playing the organizer.
And I'll be the owner of a coffee shop.
Okay, so this is what we do. Hi, can I talk to your manager?
Oh, that's me. I'm the owner here.
Oh, awesome. So my name is Alex, and we're just going around to different restaurants and different bars to make sure that owners and that their staff are prepared in case of an ICE raid. I'm not sure if you have a sign like this that says like employees only, like in the back house or the area of your cafe.
No, right now we don't have one.
You don't? Okay, great. So basically, just so you know, ICE is allowed to go into any spaces that are public. But if you can designate an area that is private only, you are allowing yourself as an owner and your staff to be better protected in case of an ICE raid, right? So you can put this, is there like a break room that you have?
Yeah, in the back of the cafe, we have a little break room for our employees.
Okay, awesome. So the one to do, can I leave one of these with you?
Yes.
Okay, sweet. So I'm going to leave that with you so you can put it in the back. And basically, if ICE were to come and they try to go to the back and tell you you need to get back there, you can let them know that not without a judicial warrant. And with this, you're letting them know clearly that you do not grant the permission to go to the back of the house. And then also another thing that you can do is have more information in the QR code on the side right here. But one tactic that we have seen that ICE officers or agents have been using is that when they will tell owners like, hey, we're doing an I-9 audit right now, and you need to provide us the information of your staff and your employees. You actually have 72 hours to provide that information, so you do not have to get into them in that moment. Okay? Is there anything else any questions that you have?
So we do have a backdoor exit. Can I get one more?
Of course, yeah, you can definitely get two. And then we also have other ones that say employee owned as well. So if you want to tell people around your neighborhood as well, or other people that you may know that also have businesses, we just want to spread the word and make sure that our community is ready and protected in case of the ice raids.
Okay.
And lastly, we know that maybe a piece of paper is not going to stop an ICE agent from physically barging in, but we want to make sure that if they were to do that, you're setting yourself up and your attorneys to be better prepared to fight for you in court. Okay? That's it.
Thank you so much.
Of course, thank you. And that's it. All right. And we'll definitely be sharing that video too. You can, if you're not following us on social media, please do that as well. It's OPINORG, open.org. And you'll see the video in both of those accounts. So spread the word as well. You can share it with your friends and your community members. So now that you've seen a practice role play, can I get 2 bombshell volunteers to practice the script with us? And if you can raise your hand, that would be amazing. And you'd be the official bombshells of this call. That's Love Island reference for the folks that don't know. Who will be our bombshells? Yay! Thank you, Aaron. Yes. Is it Ian?
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you. Okay, awesome. Aaron, Ian, I love this. Will one of you like to be the canvasser and one would like to be the worker, the manager?
Ian, you pick.
I'll pick the easy one. I'll pick the canvasser because I've got a script.
Okay.
Awesome. Let's do it.
Okay. Hello, my name is Ian, and I'm with ASN. With the rise of workplace raids, how are you doing, by the way?
I'm good, thank you.
Oh, great. Okay. So, well, and with the rise of workplace raids, we're going around to local businesses in our neighborhood to tell business owners and managers about their constitutional rights. May we speak with the business owner or manager on duty?
Oh, that's me. I'm the business owner.
Oh, well, perfect. Okay. Have you heard about agents entering small businesses without warrants and detaining people?
I have, and it's pretty scary.
Right. Well, that's why we're here. It's happening more than people realize. Just this year, there have been dozens of incidents in places like Los Angeles, Nashville, DC, San Diego, and Austin, Texas, where agents entered workplaces without showing a warrant. Legally, they're required to either have a judicial warrant signed by a judge or get the business owner's consent, that would be you, to enter private areas of a business like break rooms, kitchens, or storage areas. And then I would check out this. You see, I brought this signage, and it allows you to designate some areas as private. Do you have any of these?
I don't. May I have some?
Yes. And maybe next time I would get like more solid ones instead of just these ones I printed out on my printer. Let's see, the signage. I had a question about that, but that it'll save. So, okay, well, I guess that's about it. So then I give you the signs. And do you have any questions about ICE raids or anything?
I don't, but I really appreciate you coming by and bringing the signage.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, yep. Take care. Hope to see you again.
Yay, amazing. Thank you to both our bombshells. If we can give some emojis, some love to Aaron and Ian, our bombshells of this call. Thank you so much for volunteering. And you like it's like that. You just do it one time, you get used to it, and then we go. I
Are people putting emojis? Yes, they are. Perfect. Great. So honestly, the times that we have done it, or that I've done it personally, the responses to the conversations have been incredibly positive. In fact, I've gotten free pan dulce and coffee, and I've had other folks that were volunteering with us also say, hey, I got a free latte, because people are just so thankful that community is coming, like pulling out and coming through and like making sure that we're supporting one another. Obviously we're not doing for the free coffee, right, or anything, but it's just a great way to demonstrate that, like, more than likely your experience is going to be pretty positive, because this is information that is going to benefit businesses, it's going to benefit workers, it's going to benefit our community, right? Because we're part of this community. There might be some individuals that might be more on the fence, right? Or there might be nervous. One thing that I've been noticing is, like, if you're speaking to someone and they're usually not the manager or they're not the owner, they'll be a lot more hesitant, especially if you say, hey, can I speak to your manager, right? Because the immediate response is like, uh-oh, what happened, right? So then you can figure out what sounds best when you're introducing yourself as well. But again, most of the time it is going to be positive, but so we'll have different moments. If we can go to the next slide, please. Next one. Oh, wait. Yes. Okay. Yes, the talking points one. Sweet. Thank you. Okay. So again, these are just some helpful talking points when we're having these conversations, so you can that you can lean on when you're talking to people about their rights. Give me a thumbs up too if these are making sense. It's pretty straightforward, but if you have any questions, like please make sure that you're putting in the chat, and then we can go on to the next step. But
Maybe Alex, we get some volunteers to each read one of them.
Yeah, awesome. Yes, can I get some more bombshells? New bombshells. Yes, Anna, thank you. Please read the first one.
My pleasure. Constitutional rights. Business owners have the rights when law enforcement comes into their property or properties, porque sometimes tienen más de uno.
Cierto. Thank you, Anna. Next bombshell, Curtis.
Consequences of inaction. Knowing your rights and how to respond can prevent costly fines, legal battles, etc.
Thank you so much. Next person, I have another Anna.
Economic impact. Losing workers and having to train new hires can be costly.
Exactly. Thank you. Next bombshell, Bere.
Tearing working families apart. Working class immigrant families are being torn apart, in some cases violently.
Thank you, Bere. Next bombshell. Is it Karine? I have someone with their Miti? Is that how I say it?
Karine, I'm sorry. I couldn't get it. I'm sorry.
No worries.
Okay, we're on the last one, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh my gosh. There. Protecting our constitutional rights. Without a signed judicial warrant, business owners have the right to deny ICE entry into private areas.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Round of applause for our bombshells. Woo! Okay. So again, if you have any questions about these, feel free to put them in the comments, and then we can get to them later. Let's go to the next step. So you want to know, where are you going to canvas, right? So let's think about this together. When you're already thinking about this, you're on this call and you're like, well, where can I go? What are the different types of businesses that are near you that you can think of right now? So either put them in the chat, or like, if I could have someone, a different bombshell, raise your hand and and then let us know 3 local businesses that you can think of right now. Panaderia, I see some hands that are still raised. Would you guys like to share those from the last time that you raised your hand? If not, okay, yeah, we got Lenny's Burgers, A1 Tires, La Michoacana. Yo, that's the ice cream spot. El Super, yep, La Bodega, Spa, landscaping business. Well, we're going kind of fast. But yeah, nursing homes. Yeah, there are different types of businesses, you know, that we see. Flower shops, laundromats, 100%. All of these are the businesses that are in your area. These are all the businesses that you can go to and canvas. So you can think about how you can help business owners and managers and the staff brainstorm the best policies that they can develop for their business, right? So for example, a barbershop or a hair or a nail salon or a tattoo parlor. Those are some examples that you can have businesses that have appointment only. Like Claudia was mentioning earlier, like during the pandemic, we were really good at being able to like actually, do you have a reservation to come to this, you know, to this restaurant? And you need to make sure that, you know, it's appointment only. A conversation that me and another coworker had, we went to a hair salon as well. It's like, okay, well, if you make it appointment only and you have your door closed, then you can have a sign that says like employees and clients only, right? Or employees and patients only, if it happens to be like a kind of health clinic, or for example, employee and clients only if it's like a massage parlor, different things like that. The point is, you just want to make sure that if you're gonna have these signs, like Claudia also mentioned earlier, like you can't have a sign that says like employees only, for example, and you put it in the front of a business if your door is still open and you're just open to the public. Because if I can go in, ICE can go in. I feel like that's a good thing. I heard Claudia said it once and I was like, yep, that's true. So like if we know they're not like knocking, so if they're gonna go in, they will go in. Okay. And so yeah, so not only would the sign would like be helpful, but also making sure like if we're physically creating closing like doors or making it like or stating that you're like appointments only. So, you know, like if you have like a walk-in business and employee only, then it's like a bit too much, but it's just extra legal and safety precaution to protect your business and protect your workers as well. All right. Let's see. Another thing too to keep in mind, you can use ChatGPT, right? Like if you're having a conversation with someone with a different like language, we went to a place where folks were speaking Korean, and we were able to use Google Translate to just be like, hey, this is actually why we're here. And this you know, you can think creatively about different things that you can use in order to help you and to help the businesses and your community as well. So keep some flyers, some links in your phone to share, or some QR codes has been really helpful. All right. And then also, is this where we're going to be sharing the Signal group chat as well?
Yeah, we'll send it in the chat.
Okay, awesome. So yeah, another thing that you can do that people have been doing has been incredible is like after you you know, how you have been trained, you get part of our Signal group chat, then volunteers like yourself have been organizing, and it's been so amazing to see, because like you'll have folks that are like, and I saw it already earlier today in the comments, be like, oh, you're in the Bay Area, me too, great, boom, boom, and you connect, and then you're able to create like your own little Signal chats, or we have other Signal chats within our WOB campaign, our Workers Over Billionaires, so you can connect to other people in different areas, so you can do canvassing together, which is super amazing. All right, can we go to the next slide, please? Okay, so now let's talk about community and safety tips. First of all, canvassing with one other person makes it such a blast. It's like so fun. I went with a friend, and then this one business owner had like a bird, and her bird was just like hanging out on me while I'm trying to talk to her about rights. So it's just like an experience, and you can make it more of like an event. It doesn't feel like a job, right? And we're more than likely to do this again when you have a positive experience. So like make this fun, because it's incredible that we're out here supporting our community. So definitely, and it's also safer to go with somebody else as well. So yeah, we want to make sure that small and local businesses, establishments are informed first. Think of like your favorite local bar or your favorite restaurant, and then start locally and then expand outward into your city. And we encourage folks to strategically start in areas where they know the businesses are like-minded or friendly, and then power map your way into other establishments in your area. Also, please be respectful. Like, you know, we're all workers here. businesses can get really, really busy. There's like no reason for us to try to get there, try to support, and then we're over here like yapping, yelling away to a worker who clearly is like stressed out because there's a lot going on. You can gauge it. You know what I mean? That happened to me when I was in Koreatown. I can tell it, like the worker was just like, I do not have capacity to talk about this. I was like, okay, cool. You know what? I'll come back, or I'll leave this flyer with you, and we could talk about it later, or you can get more information with this QR code, etc. You know, just again, very human. Just this is something that we're doing out of the kindness of our hearts, and we're doing it to build power, and we're doing it to protect our community. So yeah, just be respectful. And remember that ICE is conducting raids in the work sites and in workplaces, often without warning, in majority people of color communities. So if you think of it like, where's a good spot to go? You're like, okay, well, is this like a neighborhood that's primarily like immigrant or Latino or whatever it may be? You're like, maybe this is a place that would be a good place to start within my city, within my town. And if you yourself are a person of color, or maybe you're bilingual or multilingual, think of like local strip malls or businesses where your communities like frequently together. And if you're canvassing, and again, and if you speak to someone who is not a non-English speaker, and you know, speak Spanish or Korean, you can use Google, you can use ChatGPT. You can already have it like on the side too. If you know you're going to be going to an area, it's also another good thing to be prepared. Like if you already know, you could just have it ready to go. And even like, for example, if you have used ChatGPT, I'll read it to them in Korean, for example. So yeah, it's a perfect time for us to get creative right now. And now I am going to be passing it back to Claudia.
Yeah, I mean, I think just echoing everything that Alex said around going out in pairs, that's best practice anytime that you're doing this, kind of working with teams. And then if you are in any of the cities that we actually are working in, we also have teams on the ground that are leading regular canvases and are happy to be out there with you all. So I think if you go one slide up, we have teams in Houston, in Albuquerque, Phoenix, and LA, and the signal has been dropped into the chat. We encourage you to jump into our overall WAP channel, and then you will quickly be recruited into a new signal chat that is like in the area that you're in. And that's where folks, again, are organically getting together and doing this in groups, united, and just kind of hitting areas near their house, finding other folks that are down to help, like sponsor printing signs. So it's been very, very incredible to see the way folks are organically coming together. And this is an incredibly accessible way to plug in and to just start going. I mean, the way that we started this, our first day was just like, what are the businesses that I go to regularly? We went literally down the street from where I live, and we said, I want to make sure that in my community, in my neighborhood, businesses that I frequent are doing everything that they can to protect immigrant workers. And that's what you can do too. You can go to, and I definitely encourage you to go to areas, especially if you're an ally or see yourself as less at risk in these moments, encourage you to be going to areas that are high risk, like, again, immigrant communities, businesses that, service immigrant communities or typically are seen as hiring immigrant workers. What we're seeing and learning from here in LA is that ICE is just going to the low-hanging fruit. They're not doing sophisticated operations where they have spent time targeting a business and they know that they failed a 9-9 audit and then they went and got a judicial warrant. They're just going to where they can literally terrorize communities that are immigrant communities. It's what we saw in MacArthur Park the other day. It's what we're seeing them do in Koreatown and what we saw them do in Ventura County today at the farms, right? So you can base where you're going, build a team on like where it's close to you and where it's accessible to you and start getting familiarized with this practice there. Jump in the signal chat, talk to folks, build a team, or you can try to go somewhere where you think is very much in need of the support. In LA right now, we have some teams that are building up more capacity to go to the Southeast cities where we know it's like primarily immigrant communities, right? Or South Central. So it's important that we hit everywhere because there's a lot of fear right now. So yes, join these signal chats. And like I said, we have folks in Houston, Albuquerque, Phoenix, and LA. And then let's go into prepping our material. So y'all got the script, the Canvas tool guide has all of that. But we also want to make sure that that you all are feeling good, have your script, reading through it, really making it your own. It's not that hard. but it's just definitely a good guide. And then you got the signs, right? That you, I saw somebody here that they have like a laminating machine, folks that are printing it out, that's amazing. But that you print out signs, a couple different versions. We have multiple versions. We have the clients and employees only for like barbershops and salons and nail salons. We have the employees only for those actual private areas, like the back of the kitchen. Then we have the patients and employees only for clinics, right, and hospitals and areas where it would be an employee. And then, and also, what if you scan the QR code at the bottom of that sign, and we can tell folks, there's actually much more detailed guidance. So if folks have more questions, and we have it in Spanish, English, and Korean currently, folks can go there for more information after you leave to like really understand the process a little bit better and get some more recommendations. But even in the canvassing guide, there's actually a smaller handout that you can print too, which we've been using as well to hand out to business owners or supervisors on the spot. We don't always get the manager, we don't always get the owner. And so it is nice to leave behind an additional kind of like explainer document so that they can give that to their boss when their boss gets there. All right. And then again, just naming, preparing your materials. You want to have the canvassing script, your talking points, print out all those documents. In our experience, hitting in about an hour, we hit like 10 businesses. The conversations are like 5 to 7 minutes, unless someone wants to keep you there chatting a little bit longer. It's good to have some tape with you so folks can put it up on the spot. Again, like, businesses are busy. You don't want to be bugging them when they're in a rush, of course, but still really important to be telling them this information. So you might want to wait and still do it because you're already there. But if you have tape and they're down, they can you can tape it up for them on the spot. We have seen in some cases that we've gone to a business, they were super receptive, but we caught them in a rush. Then when we went back, the sign wasn't up. And really it's just because like they moved on to the next person in line and didn't circle back. And so if you can help them put it up, that's great. Yeah, just those are helpful things to have with you when you're out in the field. Alex, anything else you would add to this part?
Yeah, no, I think yeah, like we did say cardstock as well, right? Just making sure that they're a little bit thicker would be really helpful. I think, yeah, you did say that. Just because that's also the sun, you see that it makes it like if it's a place where the sun is hitting it, you'll see it deteriorating like in days. So yeah, if you one thing is really helpful too, if you get connected to like other organizations within your community or even your library, for example, you can get a couple of prints for free as well. But just like think creatively of things that you can use to print out the materials.
Awesome. Cool. And then we have our canvasser form. So a favor that we're asking you to do for us as you're out there doing this outreach is to actually be tracking what you're doing because we're trying to figure out what is the best system to be letting other folks in your community know that you've already hit a certain area of businesses and that way they can go to a different place. And so we have one way, which is really important, and folks have been really great about this, is dropping in the signal chat and saying, hey, like we're canvassing this area today, especially in the regional, like local chats. But another way is our canvasser form. So we can go to the canvasser form. Here we have just a very simple canvasser form. Thank you, Lynn, for opening this up for us. Just ask you to put your name, what city you're in, state, because we have folks from all across the country, which is amazing, and zip code. And then just that if the business wants more info, or if you canvass like multiple businesses, kind of like on what street did you do that? We're trying to make this as simple for y'all as possible, but it will allow us to basically both track what's already being covered so that we can share the information with the rest of the team, our volunteers that want to also do this. And also, if there's specific businesses that want a specialized training, from time to time, we are doing these trainings more detailed for employers, and that's where we do go into the whole I-9 audit stuff. And so if we get a lot of businesses who would like to be trained, we then can follow up with them. You can put their info in the notes, and that'll give us the info that we need to do that follow-up. All right, back to the PowerPoint. Oh, thank you, Lynn, for modeling it. So, and then lastly, before we get into folks' questions, we really love seeing the work that you all are doing, both just like, hearing you about what you've been doing in our trainings and our national calls, but also like we've been literally just walking through different cities that we don't even live in and seeing these signs, which has been very inspiring and amazing. And so it's just really great to see how this kind of like really spreading like wildfire. But would love for you all to share and continue to promote what you're doing. Send it back in the Signal chat, obviously through the Canvas report. And if you're sharing it on social media, if you can please use the hashtags of Workers Over Billionaires or Organized Power in Numbers, love that too. But or tag us on Instagram. But we really are loving to see everything that you're doing. And so we encourage you to keep sharing back with us your experiences, how it's going, what improvements we should be making. Alex, I see what up here.
Yeah, and I can talk about this as well. Like, one, it's just incredible to share with your community and like to have these photos, especially on social media. But one of the really incredible things about this is that by you doing this and by you posting a photo or posting a video, like you are going to be inspiring people within your community to also do this. And I know during this time, a lot of people feel like, well, I'm not sure, I'm not an organizer, I may not know. You're trained. You know what I mean? You're trained and you're doing this with other people. And then, and now you have the possibility to get even more people to be doing this. So like, don't underestimate the power that you have, the influence that you have for us to get our entire country protected and seen as one working class community. So please do take those photos, please tag us, and then definitely use those hashtags so we can reshare it, because we would love to do that as well.
Thank you, Alex. Next slide. All right, awesome. So questions. I started going through the chat, but if folks want to raise their hand, I can take some questions. We can take some questions. Happy to start clarifying some of what we said. Or, I understand there's like some workplaces that are a little tricky. One example I would say is like car washes. We've seen car washes be targeted really heavily here in Los Angeles because that's primarily in undocumented worker industry. I come out of a background in organizing car wash workers to help them form unions, and it's been very devastating to see what's happening to car wash workers here in LA. But what's tricky is that that's a workplace that doesn't really have like a barrier to the working areas, right? That we're seeing ICE literally go in and like go to the tunnel and just grab workers. So now what we're seeing car wash owners do, and we've been doing some trainings for car wash owners, is to really hold boundaries around private space, to be better at communicating and having a policy and a system in place where they train their staff so that if they do see law enforcement coming by, that there's a system and a process to make sure that the owner is the one that's engaging them first, and workers at that point have the option to be in private space or not. So just, there's ways to be creative. Not every workplace is protected by the Fourth Amendment because you have to have private space. And so I think another really challenging environment we're seeing is with street vendors, right? Street vendors do not have a private space because they are physically in a public space doing their work. So it can be very complicated for some folks. And I just want to name that like this is not a catch-all and perfect for everything, but where we are seeing them just go into, brick and mortars, into businesses and violate the Fourth Amendment, we want to make sure folks can prevent them from doing that by knowing their rights. Construction workers, that's another tricky one. We're seeing them go onto construction sites, but I would say construction sites in particular often are, if they're not closed off, they are fenced, they have fencing. And what construction sites do is that they have authorized personnel only signs often, right? And that means is to go into a construction site, I know this as an organizer, you got to like have a hard hat and boots, right? They don't want you there because it's very dangerous. And so what we've seen be successful with construction sites is that now they're being more prepared, and the supervisors are now closing the fences and actually stationing supervisors and foremen at the gate. And even though it's just a chain link fence, as long as that chain link fence is closed and you're not allowing them to enter, again, sometimes they're forcing their way through. But when in other cases they have literally left construction sites because the foremen and supervisors did not allow them, kept the gates closed, and only allowed workers in that day and did not let immigration enforcement on site when they try to come in. So it is possible, right? It is possible for some of these more like outside type workplaces, as long as they have that barrier to keep to protect themselves. But yeah, the folks that are just out like what's it called? In on like street vendors, it's just a different story. I live in a small town with small businesses that don't have any immigrant hires. Would you not talk to them to get them? I think we can think about it too as businesses that might be servicing immigrant communities. I would say where this is the most impactful is in businesses that we think might be targeted by ICE, right? And we want to make sure that they're the ones that know their rights. I also think that this is an important form of political education too. And so if you really don't have like a nearby business that you think is directly impacted, this is a good way to start a conversation with somebody about how people's constitutional rights are being violated. And that doesn't matter if you're an immigrant or not, right? These are constitutional rights. And when they're done targeting immigrants, who are they going to go for next? Because it's not going to end there.
Yeah, and if I can add that really quickly as well is, I went to like a pretty hipster coffee spot, and I was like, all right, like we know what the hipster coffee, they have great coffee, but anyways, just being in that conversation with that individual first, like Claudia saying, the political education, but sometimes even the workers there will ask you like, well, this is actually so amazing that you're doing this. Like, how can I do this? And then you could plug them on to Workers Over Billionaires. You can tell them, well, actually, I got trained with organized power numbers. So you can text defense to 58910 to also get this information. So never think of it like, oh, well, it might like, is it going to be a waste of time? It's not, because you're building community, right? So even if it's within your own town, the point is we want everybody to know their rights.
Yeah, that's right, Alex. And then just around like some of the technical questions around private property, like, well, the car wash is private property, right? So like they shouldn't be allowed to enter. We're basing this off of like past practice of like what's been held up in court, right? And what has been justified just historically. And the most easy way to think about it is, again, where the public can go, ICE can go. And so even though technically as a whole, a business is a private property, potentially, if it is not private space, if it is not a private area of the business, it's not gonna apply. Like they can still be in the dining room area of that business. They can still enter the car wash to walk into the little store where you pay for your receipt or your car wash, right? So while it's not ideal, and we wish it just was like the entire premises, right, counted, and they couldn't, like, there was an invisible barrier that they couldn't cross. The fact is they're crossing the areas they shouldn't be crossing, but they definitely can be in the areas that anybody that in the public can be in. What some businesses are doing when ICE when they know that there's activities, they're closing their business, right? Like that's just maybe a safer thing to do, is to just close your business for the day. And again, like, it's worth naming that this ridiculous operation that we're seeing is really harming to like our communities, to businesses. It's not necessarily having a positive impact in any way. And so but what businesses are doing is they're just shutting down as soon as they know that there's nearby activity, in order to avoid the interaction altogether. Do you have ideas or suggestions on how to do a phone bank? Yes, we actually do phone bank trainings and texting trainings. And so definitely, if you are already a Texas Defense, our defense line, or are following us, we have those trainings periodically. So happy to do those trainings, and it's a good reminder. And then also, we would love for you to help us recruit more folks. So yeah, you can join. Oh, look, there it is. Thank you, Open Team, for doing that.
I also saw a question. I'm not sure. I don't think we answered it right now. And it's talking about food trucks. And actually, one of the first times that Claudia and I did this, we actually went to a food truck. So yes, 100%. Like, am I as a customer allowed to go in the back and make my own taco? No, right? So like that would be absolutely considered like a private area. Like the villa, for the people who watch Love Island, is also considered a private designated area, right? So one of the things you can do is definitely have like one of those signs within your your food truck as well. Here's the thing. Again, we know that ICE is not following the law. So even though it's super hot right now, this is a great time to review your policies, right? Like if you want to have a policy of like you got to keep that door closed. We had a case study. We were showing a video where ICE went into a food truck because why? The door was open, right? So it's 100%. Again, if it's reasonable expectation of privacy, then that you can create that that it's already there, and you can have your sign to have additional protection. So 100% within a food truck, that also counts.
Yes, I love Christian. I don't know, man. It's a little bit late. It's a a lot of hours to catch up on. Go to the TikTok highlight reel. And I see your comment about activists joining hands to block out vulnerable people. I've seen that too, and it's really inspiring and beautiful. Are we still recording this training?
Yeah, I was trying to figure out a good time.
Recording
stopped.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a moral question in these moments, right? Like, what will you do in that moment? And it's very challenging. I will name that is what we're seeing and is being told to us as likely leading to possible charges of interfering or obstructing with an investigation. So maybe won't happen, maybe will happen, I don't know. But I just want to caution that that could be then perceived as interference. And at least here in Los Angeles, we're seeing a lot more people be detained. So let me say that ICE does not have authority over US citizens. They do not. That is not their job. They're not supposed to. They are now going to be the biggest federal agency in the country as a result of the big, beautiful bill. I hate to call it that. I'm sorry, big, terrible, awful, trash bill. But you know, they are now going to be even more emboldened, even more empowered, and more staffed up, more equipped, more prisons getting built. And so there's just greater consequence to some of these activities, and it's just a risk assessment for each person to make. And I just want to name that transparently. Not saying that like individually what feels like the right thing to do is what we would do in that moment, right? But it's important to know for awareness that would be considered interfering. And in terms of what is the best thing that you can do, the safest thing you can do, what is the safest thing you can do in these incidents, in these moments, is to document it. And so I think, Patricia, you mentioned this in the chat, recording is the safest thing that you can do in these moments, which is to document the interaction, to film it at a safe space, to make sure that your camera or your phone is not using biometrics. So what they may do, again, because they are violating the law often, is they might knock that phone out of your hands. They might try and take it. They might try and delete footage that you have and just hold it up against you, right? So it's good in this moment to not have biometrics as an access way to your phone, but instead to use the passcode, to upload that footage immediately to a cloud, or to film it in bursts, right? Like maybe 1 minute bursts so that you're like kind of saving it, and to document, to track what agencies were there. We're seeing, you know, I didn't even know this, but apparently the Consumer Beverage and whatever agency has a unit that collaborates with DHS. And now that unit is out at restaurants harassing customers, right? And we're seeing that here in LA too. So, you know, we want to just like think about, like, we want to know who was there. So we're learning as we go. We're understanding, what does this operation look like? How many agents, what agencies, did they physically assault anybody? If we're seeing somebody physically get detained, we want to ask that person if they're willing to share for their an emergency contact that we can get of theirs, and their name, so that we can communicate to that family member. In some cases, people are going missing for days and weeks because nobody was there to witness or to gather the information of the person that was being detained. And if nobody was there to witness, you know, it could be hours and days before the family finds out what exactly happened. I know a car wash worker's wife who only found out that he was detained because they share location, and when he was supposed to be at work, he was at the sheriff's office, right? And that's how they found out what happened. So, yeah, like just documenting and gathering information in these sites is important. Also being connected to your local rapid response hotlines or groups, because they are also trained to go out and gather this information. And then what they will do often, the trained rapid responders, is they will go to a work site and they will literally wait there all day until family members can come to try and collect vehicles that were left behind, personal belongings. Also, another way to volunteer is to become a rapid responder in your area. I'm not sure every area has the infrastructure, but there's definitely some great trainings out there for how to build your own network if you don't have one already. There is, yes, in Albuquerque, there definitely is. We'll share that with you. But yeah, so that was a long-winded response to that question. Sorry. I see. I think it'd be great if large box retailers did do some kind of like membership like system. I know that right now, actually in Albuquerque, there's organizing happening because ICE officers went into a Walmart and targeted a worker whose documentation had expired. And you have to think that big box retailers use E-Verify. And so if they're using E-Verify, that means DHS already knows immediately when someone's documentation lapses. So they're now targeting them. And let's just go back to the name of this call or our campaign, which is workers over billionaires. I will name that these big box retailers are also owned by billionaires who are aligned with this administration's agenda, and so they're not voluntarily going to do the right thing in this case. But what we can do is build pressure on them as customers, right, to do better. Home Depot has not taken a position on what's happening. They've not made a statement. They're not changing anything about how they organize or operate their stores. And everyday workers and customers are being taken from Home Depots. But what we can do is organize. And I know that soon what's coming from the stuff that happened in Walmart is the demand for big box retailers to do better. They will not do it if we ask nicely. But if a lot of us ask consistently and with pressure, maybe we can get them to do better, like have a membership program or at least have a better policy for when ICE is present near or around their buildings. You can absolutely host local trainings with your communities. This is recorded. You can, you'll have the guide. Once you start doing it, you'll see that you don't need to hear us tell you how to do it. Like you'll understand how to do it. It's pretty straightforward. So yes, definitely please do and tell us when you do it because we'd love to hear about it.
And please do not forget to take your photos. Please, like you have no idea how much, like this has started because we shared a video of us doing these canvassing walks. And, I had over 1 million people that saw it. And we have had these calls. So it's super, super, super powerful. So yes, definitely do it. We did a training like on the spot, like for like 25 people in Koreatown, Claudia and myself. And we're like, okay, this is how we do it. We did the role play, we practiced it, and boom, they head off. And now every single of those volunteers said, I want to come back and do it again. And it's been so incredible to see. So definitely, very excited for you guys.
Yes. And then I see a comment about an rapid response network in Austin. I believe there is one. So you could definitely, I think, plug in. I don't have it in front of me, but I know that Workers Defense is a group based in Austin that does a lot of immigrant worker defense work. And so we will figure that out and circle back with you, Ian, on how to plug into the rapid response network in Austin. You can call a lawyer. Everybody who's at risk right now should have an immigration attorney. So we mentioned folks with amendment rights. Their Sixth Amendment right is to have an attorney present with them in court. Immigration is a civil violation. It is not a criminal violation. It is equivalent to, in most cases, to getting a speeding ticket. It's like that level of civil violation. And so, as we all know, if you ever try to fight a parking or a speeding ticket, not me, I never did, but if you ever have, the court, they're not assigning you a lawyer, right? You got to go on your own. that is true for immigration court. You have to go on your own. You have to bring your own attorney. Right now, the system of pro bono and or low cost attorneys is so incredibly impacted. Folks have huge caseloads. So I'm naming this knowing it's a huge challenge, but anybody who's at risk, anybody in your family who's at risk, who has any kind of questions around their status, green card holders are having their green cards revoked. That is not normal. So it's important that anybody who feels like they're at risk be in touch or have a immigration attorney at hand or somebody that they can go to for when this happens, because it's just much more difficult once you're already detained.
Yeah, and if I can answer a question really quickly from Joy, and says, are there considerations for covering faces? So yes, let me also state that we should be asking for permission. And when I mean pictures of yourself as you, the canvasser, right? It's like you and another person, or however big your group is, you with your signs in the photo, right? If you do take photos when you are with, like, for example, inside, and usually what we would do is maybe like get a photo of just like you kind of handing someone the cardstock, and maybe of their hand or something like that, right? But if they're down, then cool, that's amazing. But yeah, 100% ask for consent. And they should be, of course, if you're canvassers of yourself, if you feel comfortable with this.
Are there any questions that we missed? Feel free to raise your hand if it was like further back up the chat. Patricia, go ahead.
It's not a question, but just as an advisory for other people, I work in a bail bonds office. If you have a loved one that is incarcerated right now, has a possibility of bailing out, speak with an attorney, because what's happening is we bail people out and then ICE is sometimes waiting for them and grabs them. So I just wanted people to be aware. It's like a 50-50 shoot right now. Like sometimes they don't grab them, and sometimes they do. I just wanted people, because that's the area I'm at, to be aware that if you know someone or a loved one, speak with an attorney before seeing what ways you guys can make sure he or she gets back home to you guys. So please be safe with your loved ones, okay?
Thank you so much for sharing that. Oh, thanks for calling us bombshells too, Maria. I saw a comment in the chat that I responded to, which is, if businesses are interested in training, how would we facilitate that? If you put their emails in the form as you're filling it out, we then can invite them to the next. We don't do them as often as we do these, but periodically we will do employer trainings. And so then we can invite them to the next one. Just kidding, I was on mute. We have another training like this on the 24th. So if you hear folks who, you meet other folks who want to do this, you talk to your friends and tell them that you went to this training that was super informative around how to do community outreach, around employers and businesses rights, around immigration rates, they can join our next training on the 24th. Patricia, is that a new question or same comment? Same hand.
Oops, same hand.
All good, all good. Just double checking. Cindy?
Hey y'all, just a quick question. I've been like posting this, like the invite to the training and trying to encourage anybody in my network to join. That's allowed, right? Like you guys encourage that? Okay, because I was like, I feel like, is it okay that I share these links? I wasn't sure. All right, I got you. I'm doing everything I can.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, please share. Want to make sure as many folks have the resource as possible.
Yeah, and also, if you did go attended this training and you liked it, for the people that put in the comments, thank you all so much for being here too. And also, maybe post it on if you have social media, like, you know, be like, I just attended this training. It was really helpful. I recommend you check it out as well. The point is, we want to get everyone trained, right? And we do that with your help. So please, like, let folks know, let the chat know, let the other bombshells know.
Right. If there are no more questions, we'll start wrapping up. Thank you all so much for joining us. If we can, open team, drop the signal groups one more time in the chat for folks that way they remember to click it on their way out and join our signal chats. That would be awesome. Let me look for it as well. Thank you. Awesome. Thank you, Patricia. But yeah, we'll hang out here for a couple more minutes and then we'll close out.
Is there a closeout Love Island song? I don't think so, huh?
I don't think so.
No, I think it's
do
just
we
the
want to
same
do a
one.
closeout? We'll do a fade out.
We could just be like, we got a text.
Mamacita, someone said.
Definitely, this was not sponsored at all, by the way, by Love Island.
Thank you all
Thank
for
you.
spending the evening with us.
Really powerful. Thank you for your work.
One sec, guys.
Thank you.
One sec.
Thank you, Anna, for being here.
All right, I want to bounce. That was a really useful training. I'm just so tired. I'm just so tired. Hey, can we actually maybe make this happen? Do you guys actually want to do this? Can we do this as a community project? Just because that would be, quite frankly, highly gratifying for me if people did this. Tim Pool is currently debating where all these attacks on ICE are coming from. We need to spam him that Karlyn has been screaming about this since January. If anyone wants to do this, I'm not saying that I'm not going to tell you what to do. You are grown adults. Do whatever you want on the internet. But if you guys want to spam the ever-loving fuck out of Tim and let him know that Antifa has literally been publishing about this for months and months and months and months and months, and there is no question about where these attacks are coming from. Like, if you guys want to do that, and you want to tell him that maybe he shouldn't have blocked me on Twitter because then he would probably know all this and he wouldn't look like a raging retard on the internet, maybe you can do that and I would maybe support that and I would maybe appreciate that. I'm just saying, hey, I want to do a special shout out first off to Scrimshaw. Thank you for the super sticker. And of course, big shout out to Andre. Been so generous with the super chats lately, Andre. This is very informative, Karlyn. Thanks, Cult Boss Woman, for the hard work. I appreciate this. No one else spies like me. Hey, I do appreciate that, Andre. Thank you for always being such an amazing supporter. And thank you for the very generous super chat. And yeah, I mean, guys, if you want to support the work I'm doing, besides going and spamming Tim to let him know that if he had bothered to be a fucking journalist for 2.5 seconds, he would know where this stuff is coming from. It's not even that hard to figure it out. If you guys want to do that, that's fine. If you guys want to support my work in other ways, the very best way to do it is by heading over to my Substack. That is Karlyn, KARLYN.substack.com. Signing up for a membership of $8 a month, $80 a year. I'm going to go take a nap now because I'm really effing tired. It has been a long day, man. It has been a long day. I'm exhausted. That's enough socialism. I will, hang on. I will see you guys tomorrow. Tomorrow's Friday, right? We're going to do, so tomorrow for happy hour, I'm just going to watch the Candace Nick Fuentes interview, and I don't care if Candace has an issue with me doing it outside the paywall. It's stupid that Candace is doing it behind the paywall in the first place. So I'm going to watch the interview on YouTube because Candace is too cowardly apparently to put it on YouTube. I will fucking put it on YouTube. I don't care. So we will be watching that for happy hour tomorrow, and that's what we're going to do. And if Candace wants to have an issue with it, she can. I think I'm a small enough channel that I'm not really something that she's worried about. So we'll see if Candace has an issue with it. But if she doesn't want to put it out in the public, I will, because it's gay and retarded that she's doing it behind a paywall in the first place. That's my opinion. And we'll do that tomorrow, and it's going to be really fun. All right, guys, that is all we have. Take care. Have a good one. We'll see you soon. Bye.
How are you feeling? How long have you been here?
3 months, May 17th.
And what brought you?
That's difficult to answer.
Would you give me some idea?
I am not completely like other people.
What do you mean by that?
People dislike me because I am not completely like them. I am trying to do with my life something which few people try to do, and this influences my thinking and consequently my action.
What is it you're trying to do with your life?
Play the piano for people.
I'm not clear. How is it that playing the piano for people has eventually resulted in your being here in the hospital?
That's difficult to answer.